Indiana Fever shocked the Mystics by 29 points. Let's get into it. One of the things that I saw that happened in the Fever versus the Mystics game is that the Indiana Fever played with intention. They played with, what better way to put it? They played to win. They intended to win. Now, why is that? What was on the line that made them play to win? That was the playoffs. If they won the game against the Mystics, they would have the 7th seed. Or if Las Vegas Sparks lost their game, they'd have the 7th seed. Either which one. So the Indiana Fever were about not losing the game. So they played with intention. They also played with a greater level of defense, holding back some of the shooters on the Mystics at some low numbers. There are some like, Centron and Kiki that they couldn't really do much about because they are just good on the court. However, with the intention and the greater defense and offense that was on point, they were able to pull off a 29-point lead over the Mystics. Let's check it out. The first quarter, Indiana had 19, Washington had 20. So very close. That first quarter was very, very close. Back and forth. Okay? Second quarter, Indiana 26 and Washington 18. Here we see the intention of the Indiana Fever coming to the forefront. We see their defense picking up. We see their offense picking up. We see that they are getting more into their style of play. They weren't playing the Mystics basketball. They were playing the Indiana Fever basketball. They were not, for the most part, they were not in a hurry to the point where they were falling over their own feet. A couple times they were in a hurry, but more than not, they were not playing like they were in a hurry. They played at their own pace. They didn't play at the Mystics pace. And then third quarter, 17, Indiana, 9, Washington. Okay? So Washington had picked up their defense, which kept the Indiana Fever at 17. But what the Indiana Fever is doing is now racking on points. And then the fourth quarter, Indiana 32, Washington 18. Now here, what we see happening is the Indiana Fever wanted to make it stick. Now, they were playing so that they didn't want to lose. They were playing because they did not want to lose. So there was some desperation about being in the playoffs that fueled their flow. Because don't mistake it, the Indiana Fever were flowing in the game with the Washington Mystics. They were in a flow. They were in a rhythm. And you could tell they actually were communicating. It was wonderful to see. Okay. Now, again, the game was not perfect, but it was a better game that they have played in a long time. All right. And the Mystics felt that, and they were shocked probably by the way the Indiana Fever were playing. Because one thing that they did by playing with intention, by playing with greater defense, by playing with greater offense, by playing at their own pace and flow, the Mystics didn't know what to do with that. Okay. And this is what has to happen when they go into the playoffs. They have to play like the other teams won't know what's happening with them. They got to play at their own pace, their own speed, their own flow. They got to play to their strengths. Okay. And I believe that if the coaches let go of some of their control and let the players be playing on the court like they are, able to do with, showing their strength, showing their skill, they're going to win in the playoffs. Because see, something's got to shake up the system as it has been in the last few months. The Indiana Fever must play a distinct style of basketball that is high IQ basketball, that's at their own pace, and they set the rules. They set the stage. And nothing should throw them off. Nothing should interfere with them getting buckets. Nothing should interfere with them, guarding their opponents well and them following through. And the game with the Mystics, they had good follow through. When one person didn't get the bucket, there was another teammate there to pick it up and to get the bucket. Good follow through. And so it ended up being 94-65, 29-point lead. That's the way the Indiana Fever should play every game from this moment on. It's like the next game they play is going to be with the Minnesota Lynx. They should play the Minnesota Lynx like they're just another basketball team. Now, mind you, they got to keep in mind that they are a good basketball team, but they can be beaten, and they have beat them before. So now it's really about strategizing and playing to their own strengths and realizing that no matter what court they're on, it's their game, it's their flow, it's their rhythm. Okay? And they're going to be able to win the games. It's when they don't communicate, when their defense is down, when they're not getting the buckets, they're getting good looks, but they're not getting the easy buckets. It's when they are not, in sync, it's when they're not in their flow that they lose games. And also, I might add, is when the coaching staff wants to put their control on the players to a degree where it doesn't benefit the game, it doesn't benefit the players at all. So it's got to be hands off and let them do and be who they are on the court. Now, for the Indiana Fever, the highest scorers were Natasha Howard, 17 points. She had 4 rebounds and 6 out of 10 field goals. Next was Ariel Powers. She had 15, 2 out of 3 3-pointers, 5 out of 10 field goals, 4 assists. And then next was Shea Petty. She had 3 of 3 3-pointers and 5 of 5 field goals. Okay? Those were the top scorers. Bree Hall was put in there for about 5 minutes. She just had basically 1 rebound, pretty much. So there wasn't much that came from her, unfortunately. Now, for the Washington Mystics, the highest scorer was Sonia Citron. She had 17 points. And then it was Kiki Irfan, who had 11 points, and Shakira Austin, who had 11 points. And as far as turnovers, Fever had 6, and the Mystics had 22. Points conceded off turnovers, 6 points for the Fever, and 27 for the Mystics. Okay, fast break points, 10 for the Fever and 7 for the Mystics. Number of fouls, 21 for Fever and 23 for Mystics. Largest lead, 33 for the Fever and 6 for the Mystics. Now, that was their last game with the Mystics. And in the series, they were 2 for 2. So 2 for the Mystics and 2 for the Fever. They played at the Baltimore, Maryland, at the CFG Bank Arena. The attendance was 11,183. Now, with this win, they clinched the seventh position in the playoffs. So as it stands, they will probably meet the dream. Meeting the dream,
Or
the
aces.
dream are on point. Okay? They've been playing good basketball consistently. They have shooters that can do on the perimeter and interior. They can get the buckets. All right? And so in that playoff, they have to win, the majority out of 3 games. So it's really about the Fever, again, knowing they can't go in there at business as usual. They got to go in there with some new schemes. They got to go in there with some new plays. They got to go in there with confidence and understanding what's at stake. And understanding, like, how unbelievable will it be if they win against the Dream and they end up going to the finals? That would be just spectacular, right? We would love to see that. But the only way for them to get there, the only way for them to accomplish that is if they do something different. Because, see, just like every team scouts, every team watches the tape, so people know what to expect from certain teams, especially when you do it over and over and over again. They know when you're going to go this way, when you go that way, and whatever. Now it's time for them to change it up because these teams that are in the playoffs, the top 4, are elite teams. And so they got to be on it and they have to do something extraordinarily different in their gameplay. Yes, keep their fast pace. Yes, definitely. Raise up their defense. Okay? Know who they have to guard and double team. Important. Watch not only the ball, but the players. They need some transitional points. Okay? They need to go after not losing that game like they are in the finals. They got to have that kind of mentality. And they got to play at a pace where they flow, where they're able to flow, where they're able to carry through their process, where they're able to do you know, their thing on the court. So if they do that, they could win against Minnesota, who's next. And then in the playoffs, they could win against the Dream. But it's really going to be about them. And the coaches have to really realize that they have skilled players that need to play on the court, but you can't control every single second of the game. It won't be helpful to them or to the game. Now, all that said, I think that it's a good thing that they made the playoffs. That's a big deal. For any team to make the playoffs, it's a big deal. It's really a big deal. And so they did some good work. Without Caitlin and having 5 people that are injured, we need to, applaud them because they did excellent in terms of getting themselves to the playoffs. But now the work really begins. And they got to be about the business of doing it differently, be more intentional, gritty, aggressive, confident, and understanding how important it is for them to have good defense so they have a better offense. If they do all these things, they could win in the playoffs and they could get to the final, which I would love to see. So, you let me know what your thoughts are about the Mystics and the Fever game if you watched it. Let me know what you think about as far as the next game up for them is Minnesota. I believe it's on Tuesday. And what they should be doing in that game. And then, of course, your thoughts on the playoffs. We'll be playing the Dream, I believe. So what do you think about that matchup? So let me know. And as always, my name is Barbara, around the WNBA and other sports. Peace and blessings. And of course, go Fever. Until next time.